Okay, so you just filed your taxes, or maybe you filed an extension. That's fine too. Either way, you're done. The documents are gone, the refund is hopefully on its way, or the check is written. You can close that tab. And I get it, the instinct is to not think about taxes again until next March. I completely understand that impulse. But here's what I want to tell you today, and this is genuinely the most useful thing I can say to you right now. The moment tax season ends is a pretty valuable moment in the entire tax year. Not April 14th, right now. May, June, the beginning of summer. Because you still have time to do something about it. Today, I'm going to break down what tax planning actually is, why it's completely different from tax filing, and what it looks like in real life for families like yours. And why, if nobody in your family ever talks about this growing up, you're not behind, you're just early. I'm Michael Rodriguez, I'm a certified financial planner, and I'm the founder of Equanimity Wealth. I work with first-generation wealth builders and dual-income families, people who are doing the work, building something real, but they're doing it without a guidebook. I'm trying to make this channel that guidebook. And everything we're covering today is educational. It's not personalized tax advice for your specific situation, but it should give you a real foundation for understanding this topic and asking better questions. So let's get into it. So what actually happened when you filed? Let's reframe what tax filing actually is, because I think most people have this slightly wrong. Filing your taxes is not a financial strategy. It's a reporting exercise. Every April, you or your tax preparer sit down and tell the IRS a story about what happened last year. Here's what you earned, here's what you contributed, here's what you paid in, here's what you owe or what you owed back. You're not making financial decisions at that table. You're documenting decisions that were already made throughout the year. The year's over, the numbers are set. Your tax preparer is a great professional. They know how to tell the story accurately. Find the deductions you're entitled to. Make sure you're not overpaying. That's a lot of value. But what they can't do is go back in time. They cannot change how much you put into your 401k last year. They can't restructure how your household income was earned. They can't make choices that would have affected your taxable income because those choices happened during the year, not after it. So here's the question. If filing is looking backwards, what does it look like to actually prepare to make better decisions in real time? That's tax planning. So let me give you a simple way to think about this. Tax filing is reporting what happened. Tax planning is shaping what happens. Tax planning is an ongoing process, usually as part of a broader financial plan, where you look at your income, your savings, your investments, your goals, and make intentional choices that consider how those decisions will affect your tax picture over time. It's not about finding loopholes. It's not about being aggressive or shady. It's just about understanding that taxes are baked into almost every major financial decision, and that being aware of that can make a real difference over time. So here's what it might include. And again, this is general education, not advice for your specific situation. Understanding your marginal tax bracket, not just what you paid, but what your next dollar of income costs you in taxes and whether there's opportunity there. Reviewing withholding. If you got a huge refund this year, you may be giving the government an interest-free loan all year. If you owed a big check, you might need to adjust to avoid surprises. Maximizing tax advantage accounts, things like 401ks, IRAs, HSAs. These exist specifically to let you save in a way that has tax benefits. Are you using them intentionally or just whatever the default setting was when you started your job? Thinking about timing. When income comes in, when you take gains or losses on investments, whether there are opportunities to bunch deductions, these are things that can shift over time with intentionality, considering your household filing strategy. For dual income couples especially, how you file and how each manage your withholdings can have a real impact. None of this is exotic. None of it requires being wealthy. It just requires having a plan and someone to help you think it through. So here's what it looks like in real life, completely hypothetical of what this actually looks like for a family. Imagine a household, 2 incomes, maybe a couple with 1 or 2 kids, both working full time. They're doing well. Between them, they're earning a solid income. They get their taxes done every spring. The tax preparer does a great job. They file, they move on. But during the year, they're not really thinking about taxes. They're each contributing whatever default percentage their employer sets in their 401k, maybe 3%, because that's what was pre-filled when they onboarded. They've got money sitting in a high yield savings account, which is great, but they haven't fully funded their IRAs. One of them changed jobs last year, had a small gap in income, and nobody pointed out that that might have been a window to do a Roth conversion. None of these are mistakes exactly. They're just decisions that weren't made because nobody was looking at the whole picture throughout the year. That's the gap that tax planning as part of a real financial plan is designed to close. The opposite of this family isn't someone who earns more. It might be someone who earns exactly the same amount, but has an advisor who checks in a few times a year, asks the right questions, and makes sure they're not leaving opportunities on the table. Over time, that difference compounds, not because of magic, because of intention. So I want to take a minute here to talk directly to something I see a lot. If you grew up in a household where money was tight, or where your parents were just trying to keep things stable, taxes were probably not a dinner table conversation. Nobody was sitting around talking about Roth conversions or marginal brackets. And that's not a criticism, it's just reality. When you're in survival mode, tax optimization isn't on the list. But what that means is that a lot of first-gen wealth builders, people who are now earning good incomes, building real savings, are still operating on the same relationship with taxes that they grew up with, which is file in April, forget about it. There's a gap there, not because you're not smart or capable, but because this is genuinely information that tends to be passed down within families who had it. If your family didn't have it, nobody passed it down. That's what this channel is for. That's what we built Equanimity Wealth to do. I didn't grow up with this either. Nobody was talking about tax planning. They were thinking about just getting by. I became a certified financial planner because I wanted to be the person in the room that my family never had. And if you're watching this and this is resonating with you, you're already doing something different than what you grew up with. You're already closing that gap just by being here and thinking about this differently. So let me land with this. The tax season being over doesn't mean taxes are over. It means you now have the most runway you're going to have all year to be thoughtful about where things are headed. Tax planning isn't a luxury, it's just being intentional. It's looking at the decisions you're making with your money and understanding how they connect to each other, to your goals, and yes, to what shows up in April. And if you want to move from reactive to proactive on this, from filing and forgetting to actually having a plan, that's exactly what financial planning is designed to do, and that's what we do at Equanimity Wealth. We work with first-gen families and dual-income households who want a real plan, not products, not commission, just honest guidance from someone who's actually in their corner. If that sounds like what you've been looking for, the link to book a free intro call is in the description. No pressure, just a conversation about where you're at and what you're building. If this was helpful, please subscribe. I'm trying to post new videos every week on the financial conversations your family deserved to have a long time ago.